Hi guys, George here. Quick training video today on setting up your templates in Roofgraf. So before I actually demo the feature, just wanted to quickly explain what a template is. So the purpose of the templates feature is really to automate the cost and pricing process when you're estimating a new roofing project. So we have two approaches to this in the software. You see them here on the screen. The first is called Fast Quote. This is a really kind of simple version of the template. And then you have the smart quote, which is a much more kind of involved and detailed way to estimate based on measurements. So I'll start with the smart quote. That's the one that most people use, but we will touch on the fast quote at the end of the video. So essentially, as I say, one template is essentially a product line or a particular type of roof that you would offer to a customer. So it includes some basic settings like a name and a target profit margin and some other financial details. But the majority of the template is really about costs. So modeling all of the materials that you would use to build that roof, as well as your labor costs, and then there'll be some other costs, things like sales commissions, dumpster fees, permitting, etc. So the idea really is to try and make these templates as specific as possible. If you operate in more than one area, you may have different pricing for different areas. You may need to create separate templates. For example, one for New York and one for New Jersey. Could be the same shingle, but with different pricing included. So what I'll do is I'll just open up the new button here. We'll go and create the new smart quote template from scratch. So for today, we'll call this George's demo template. Now the name here that you enter at the top, this is the name that you will refer to this template internally. So you can be as specific as you like there. You could say this is George's demo template and it's GAF and it's good in the context of good, better, best, and it's for the state of New York, for example. So this is only visible to you and your colleagues on your Roofgraf account. Next, you'll have your display name. So this is how this will appear to a customer when you've applied this template to a project. So in this case, you might just call it good, or you might want to call it GAF good, for example. So this is obviously in the context of presenting multiple offers to a customer, in a good, better, best fashion. And then you can add a description. So only to be used in the state of NY for GAF should be cheapest option on the proposal, something like that. So this is again just information that's used internally. If you're a sales manager or the owner of the business and you do have sales colleagues working with you, you can give them some guidance here as to when this particular template should be used. If you don't currently have 3 templates favorited, you will have the option to add this to your favorites. Although you can do that later from the templates page as well. So we'll go ahead and create that template. And what you'll see now on the screen is called the template editor. So this consists of a navigation menu. There are 6 things for you to think about when you're creating or editing a template. And then on the right hand side, you'll see a subset of those settings. So at the beginning, we're looking at settings. We've already seen those. Let's move on to pricing. So the first thing we'll ask you to consider is setting up a selling price range. So generally with a specific product line in a specific location, you probably have an idea of an approximate per square price that you sell at. Now obviously there are many variables on each roof, how many layers of existing roof material, pitch, other factors that could change that selling price a little bit. But in general, for example, I might say, well, for GAF and it's my cheapest option in the state of New York, I always want to sell this one between 300 and let's say 400 a square. We'll keep a nice broad range there. What this will do is actually round your profit margin up and down once we've calculated the costs to ensure that your selling price stays between that 300 and 400. If you don't have these kind of rules or you're not sure exactly what your selling price would be for a particular product line, not a problem. You can disable that option there at the top using this toggle. The next thing we'd like you to consider is the overhead. So this is obviously representing all the costs that you incur as the roofer, but that are not specific to the project. So if you rent an office space, if you have administrative staff, your insurance costs, your Roofgraf subscription costs, all of these things you will need to pay for, whether you sell one roof this week or 100. So the idea is really to try and quantify what that number is at a per project level. So a lot of people will go back to last year. Let's say their overhead was $200,000, and let's say they sold, I don't know, maybe 200 roofs last year. They would put 1,000 as their overhead. At the moment, we only support this as a dollar amount per project. We will later be supporting this as a per square amount as well. So by the time you're watching this video, you may see the option there to select per square under the unit. And in that case, you would take your overhead, divide it by the amount of squares that you installed last year, and enter that value just here. So the next thing we'll look at is the profit margin. So as we'll see later in the video, we're going to list all of the costs that are specific to the project. And then when we generate a selling price, we will apply this profit margin on top of all those costs, including your overhead. So obviously keep in mind, if you are using the selling price range, this margin may be moved up and down to meet those limits. But in this case, because I have it disabled, we will always follow this desired profit margin. And don't forget, guys, this is a template, so it's something that you apply to a project just to sort of automate the estimating process. You will always be able to adjust these values at a per project level. So something in the region of 20 to 35% is realistic. And for those that are asking or wondering, we do really use a margin calculation there. So it's not a markup times 1.3. In this case, if we have a 30% margin, we're actually dividing the cost by 0.7. So hopefully that clears up any confusions. Now, moving on further down under pricing, the next thing to look at is your taxes. So again, imagining that you do operate in multiple states or counties or locations, you'll want to create a full list of your taxes. That can be done over here on company settings. So if you haven't done that before creating your templates, I would recommend you go to company settings, head to tax information on the left, and then simply create a list of all the taxes that any of your projects could be subject to at some stage. So when creating a tax, we'll give it a name, George's demo tax. We can enter the value, let's say it's 5.5%, and then you can define how that tax is calculated. So I know in the US, it's primarily only on material. That will be the default selection. Here in Canada, most of our taxes are a markup on subtotal. So you may want to select that instead. And we do have the option as markup on labor if ever you have a tax that is specific to labor. So just go ahead and create a full list of all the taxes that you ever have to pay as part of your projects. And then heading back to the templates, you'll see that list appear here. And keeping in mind that this template is for a specific location, obviously just select the taxes that would apply for when this template would be used. So in this example, we could say, it's the Quebec taxes there. Do note that you won't be able to combine certain taxes. So for example, a tax that is applied as markup on material cannot be combined with a tax that is markup on subtotal. In that case, your material will be taxed twice, and obviously we don't want that. So just take your time there to select the correct taxes. And then if you'd like to, you can create discounts for the template as well. So it could be something like a military discount. Ooh, I need to get that spelled correctly. Military. Sorry, there we are. Military discount. And that might be, say, a value of 3% or a specific dollar amount. Then you'll need to decide if this is applied before or after taxes, especially with percentages that can with dollar amounts that can really change the numbers. And then lastly, if you want, you can add a statement of work. So this is actually a line item that will appear on the proposal, visible to your customer. And obviously here we can, we want to highlight that we're giving them a discount. So, military discount of 3% on project price applied, something like that. So we can save that in there. Again, you will have the opportunity to create these discounts at a per project level. You don't have to have them saved here at the template level. But if it's something that you do regularly, even if it's like a seasonal bonus or something like that, you can create them here at the template level. So one quick point I'll mention, guys, is whenever you're using this template editor, Obviously, there's a lot of data that's changing here, so at any point you may wish to just save your changes. Just hit the save button at the top. You'll see when there are no unsaved changes, that button is actually disabled. So anytime something here changes, you'll see it becomes blue, and that means that you'll want to save. So moving on, we've had a look at our pricing. The next thing to look at is the materials. So this is obviously where the bulk of your cost comes in. In order to make sure that the prices you're selling at are fair to both sides, we need to have a really good idea of what each project would cost you. So you'll see your materials are divided into 5 sections. We've got shingles, so this covers the main shingles, the starter strip, and the hip and ridge cap. Then you have your underlayments, which covers your paper and synthetic and your ice and water. You've got metals here, which covers drip edge, valley metal, and your flashings. Ventilation, which is your vents, your pipe boots, and your ridge vent. And lastly, accessories. So this is things like caulking, fasteners, also known as nails, decking. And then we do have one category called a miscellaneous material. So if you ever you use a material that doesn't fit into any of these categories, you can always create it there under miscellaneous. So you can either create these products from scratch from the template. So let's say I want to add a new shingle. This is George's demo shingle. I can select the manufacturer. Let's say it's made by GAF. The cost from supplier, this is what you guys pay. So in general, guys, in Roofgraf, if we talk about cost, it's your cost as the roofer. If we talk about price, it's your customer's price, what they pay, what you sell for. So I might say, yeah, I'm paying $25 a bundle for this one, and it's 3 bundles a square. This value is pretty much always going to be between 3 and 6 for regular asphalt shingles. And then again, we have that opportunity to add a statement of work. So I'll just put install George's demo shingle to entire roof surface, something like that. Don't worry about this taxable button for now. That will probably be removed by the time a lot of you are watching the video. The taxes will be taken care of on the previous tab. And another thing you'll want to do is obviously add some shingles to your, some colors to your shingle. So that can be done very easily. Just enter a name, upload an image, and then add the colors, and you'll see them here. Since we're creating this shingle brand new within the template, you will have the option to add it to your catalog. This is where we store all of the costs for material, labor, and any other costs that can then be used on future templates or future projects as required. So that's how you would add a brand new shingle from within the template. Typically, what you're more likely to do is actually just to import these materials from your catalog. So your catalog, as I say, has a full list of all the major kind of roofing manufacturers and their products. There may be a couple in there that you want to change or add. You may need to update some shingle colors from time to time. But really, this is actually a great place to start if you're brand new to the software and you're making sure that all your costs are accurate. So one very popular shingle in the industry, the Timberline HD, that is already there. So you can come in here, you can check if any of these colors are not offered, not offered in your area. Maybe there's some colors that are missing that you want to add in. You can use the new button to add those colors. And then crucially, making sure that you do have the correct price, the correct bundle per square. I don't think that's likely to change. And of course, you can add a default statement of work here, if you'd like as well. So once these products have been modeled correctly in the catalog, we can then come back to our templates, and from here we can simply hit the import icon. So importing a catalog item, it will ask you what type of shingle do you want. Is it a regular shingle, a starter strip, or a hip and ridge cap? Who's the manufacturer? And then lastly, what is the shingle that you're looking to add in there? So the Timberline HD gets imported, and it has that $28 that I added in my catalog earlier. So again, you can always edit this if you need to. Perhaps if you want one template for, I don't know, the East Coast and one for the West Coast, the colors may be different. So feel free to edit the colors or even the prices or the statement of work. The changes made here will only be reflected in this template. Everything that you see in your catalog will stay static until you edit it here in the catalog. So you're going to need to repeat that process. Obviously, if you want to delete things, hit the little trash icon. We'll ask you to confirm or cancel that action. And you can continue like so. So we can go in and say, now I need a starter strip. It's also by GAF. It's the Pro Start, and so on and so forth until you have a full list of materials. So I won't repeat this process right now for for the full list, but as you see, you can basically jump through here. Let's say we want some. We'll try and do GAF as well. Tiger paw sounds good, and ultimately you should end up with probably one of each type of material. So you'll probably want an ice and water sheet in here. You'll want, a drip edge and your flashings and your valley metal under metals. So you're going to end up having a list of, maybe between 10 and 15 materials here. Once you've configured all of your materials and you're happy with those and the prices here look correct, you can move on to your labor. So again, same concept. You can either create a brand new labor cost. So I might say this is my installation cost, and this is calculated in one of a few different ways, labor. So the most popular way that I know people calculating their labor cost is per square and pitch. So if we use that as an example, you'll see here we have this table with values that you would pay your guys. Remember, there will be a profit margin added on top of this to install 1 square based on the various pitches. So the values you see here are just a placeholder. Your values will most likely be different, but we can imagine that approximately, if it's a flat roof or a low slope, we're looking at about 80 squares or $80, sorry, per square for install, versus our higher pitches. Once we get up to the 12s on 12s and above that, obviously we expect that even though the surface area is the same, the cost to install will be increased. So again, don't hesitate to add your statement of work. It includes all labor costs to install, something like that. And again, if you're creating a brand new labor cost, you can add that to your catalog and use it on future templates or projects. In my case, I actually have some labor costs already created in my catalog. So, I can say something like the per square per pitch. I'll import that, and then we can see, those prices just like so. So that's actually not a great example. I'll remove that one, and we'll create one from scratch today. So George's demo labor cost, something like that, per square and pitch, and save. Now, if I just go back to that for a moment, guys, I'll just walk you through some of the other cost units. So when we talk about a cost unit, this is sort of how do we model the cost once it's applied to some measurement data. So if you're looking for the bundle and pitch option, this is slightly different. What it will do here is calculate the quantity of bundles, both for the regular shingles, the starter strip, and the hip and ridge cap, and it will create a kind of per bundle cost, and it will calculate that according to the pitch. So it's a slightly more complex formula. In general, I recommend per square pitch. Please ignore the extra zeros being added there. But again, this is all things that you can do from the catalog. If we go back into here, let's just create a new labor cost. And once it's created in the catalog, it can be very easily imported. Let's say George's demo labor, and that can be added to the catalog and then subsequently imported super easily. George's demo labor there at the top. So there's likely there'll be maybe more than one labor cost. You might have one for install, one for removal. You may have other pack in, pack out charges I've seen. You've got quite a lot of freedom there if you want to do things based on linear feet of ridge or per job, which would just be a kind of flat rate on every project. You can also model these per day and per hour, but do consider that when you apply this template to a project to create an estimate, you'll need to provide us, or you'll need to tell the software how many days and hours. So that does offer a slightly less automated estimating process. So we'll move on to other costs. Similar kind of concept to labor. Really, the purpose here is to store any costs that are not related to material or labor, but still specific to the project. So examples here might be things like a warranty, if you charge extra for that. Things like a removal of a second layer. This is probably something you would want to add at a per project level rather than at the template, unless you want to create a template specifically for those jobs where 2 layers exist. Other things, like I say, permitting, skylight replacements, anything that's sort of, specific to the job. Reinstallation of solar is one I see quite a lot as well. So again, you can create as many of those costs. The idea here really, guys, is to cover absolutely everything that you pay for, so that you can really come home with that 25 or 30% margin that you're aiming for. So once you've built out a list of all your costs, you want to head to the statement of work. As you saw when we were adding some of these costs into the template, there was that field in each form where you could add a line item that would appear in your statement of work. So some of them will already be populated, but you may just want to review them. For example, here, we don't have anything saved for the shingles, so I'll just put install GAF Timberline HD shingles, something like that. So it's really just an opportunity for you guys to review and make sure that everything that should be mentioned is being communicated to the homeowner or business owner, so that they can understand the scope of the project and see exactly what they're getting for the price displayed on the proposal. So for items that don't currently have a line item associated to them, they're not currently mentioned in the statement of work, you'll see the text here, no statement of work. And of course, that's fine. Things like nails, caulking, you may not need to mention that, but it is a good opportunity for you to, to just review that and make sure that this is, this is mentioned where it should be. So, warranty for 10 years, or 20 years, whatever it's going to be. Do keep in mind as well, guys, as well as sort of associating a line item to a specific cost, you can always create custom line items. So, thanks for your business, something like that, that just appears in the statement of work, just something to make it a little bit more friendly to your customer. And once you've created all of those line items, you can always drag and drop them into order. So, we may want to mention the materials first and then walk through some of those other details later. So again, at any time, save the template. If you do ever change something, oh dear, bear with me. If you do ever change something, you'll see that option to make the changes. If ever you try to leave the page, we will prompt you that there are some unsaved changes, and you can either discard them and say it's fine, I'm going to come back to this later, or you can save them and then proceed on with the rest of your day. So as I say, the idea is really to create multiple templates. You want to have kind of good, better, best offers on your proposal. Once you've created your first template, I would recommend cloning it. So you can give it a new name. We can say this is the the better, if we started with best or good, and then from there you create that clone, and then you would just jump in here and maybe swap out one material, for example the shingle, for maybe a higher quality shingle. So super simple, and that will obviously copy in all of your labor costs, all of your other costs, removal and dump, and so on. And it means you don't have to sort of create these templates from scratch each time. So that's it for the smart quote templates. You can create as many of those as you like, and you can add up to 3 to your favorites. So if you're someone who's used to selling a lot of ICO or Certainteed or GAF or Owens Corning, you can perhaps have a good, better, best for that particular manufacturer saved there under favorites. And do keep in mind that we don't insist on you doing good, better, best. There's plenty of people using a tool that only have one offer. They only use one template. And they're selling plenty of deals. So if you prefer, if that's what you're doing today and you're not looking to do good, better, best, you can simply create one template and quote with that each time. So just before I leave you, I will mention the fast quote templates. Kind of a dumbed down, quicker version of the smart quote template. So from here, same idea, we're going to give it a name. I'll put George's demo fast quote for now. And then we can give it a display name, so the best roof you'll ever buy, something like that. And then here for the fast quote templates, rather than trying to list all of your costs and apply a margin and then round it up and down to meet specific range of selling price, we actually just sell at a specific price per square. So again, this is for people who kind of know what their selling price is, they know what range they need to be in to be competitive, and they also know kind of what selling price will give them a sufficient margin. So if I know from experience, for this particular product line, I sell at 350 a square, I can add that here. And then again, we need the shingle just so that we can present some colors on the proposal. So let's say this is for the, I don't know, the Timberline HD again, not a problem. Just take a second to review those colors. Do you supply all of them? Are there any that are missing? Add them here if necessary. And again, we want this to look like a full proposal, as if you're using the smart quote templates. So feel free to build out a a generic statement of work. Install GAF Timberline HD shingles. And you can create as many of these custom line items as you want. So includes all labor, and we promise to leave you with a smile on your face, for example. So I would expect you guys to build that out a little bit more. But again, once this is applied to a project and you've created a proposal, you will be able to edit the text that appears there from that proposal. This is really just to give you something to start with each time you create a new project. So super simple, the fast quote templates, same idea. You want to kind of create a good, better, best, pick the 3 that you sell most and put them as your favorites. And then when you go to creating a job and creating a roof report, you'll see a button that says create proposal. When you select that, you'll be asked to choose which templates you want to use, either fast quote or smart quote, and then depending on which approach you're taking, which specific product lines do you want to offer to that customer. And based on that, we will obviously look at the measurement data, we'll calculate how much of each material is needed, what your labor costs would be based on the squares and the pitch or other factors. And there will be a brief moment to review those and change any numbers if you like. But essentially from there, the estimating portion is done. And if you are using the smart quote templates, as most of our users do, you will then be able to create a work order, a bill of material, and an invoice as well. So hopefully that better explains what this templates business is all about. Do feel free to reach out if you have questions. We're available for training sessions. If you have feedback on how this can be improved, I would love to hear it. And we hope that it helps you get those estimates out as quickly and accurately as possible. Thank you.